The fallout from Dan Ashworth's exit from Manchester United is still reverberating around Old Trafford and the football world. Dan Ashworth has departed Manchester United just 5 months after being appointed as sporting director. It's understood that the decision to axe him was made in a meeting after United's 3-2 loss at the hands of Nottingham Forest on Saturday. United instigated the separation, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe playing a key role in Ashworth's shock departure. Sir Jim Ratcliffe wielded the axe after talks with trusted advisors, having been left disappointed during Ashworth's 5 months as Manchester United's sporting director. Now, details are emerging over Ratcliffe's discontent with Ashworth, which recently came to a head during the recent managerial search. Manchester United's search for a successor to Erik ten Hag ended up with the Red Devils moving for Ruben Amorim. The Mail reported how Dan Ashworth wanted Gareth Southgate to take over, while The Athletic claimed that he also recommended Eddie Howe. Aside from the fact neither are good enough, the whole prospect of another drawn-out saga with Newcastle would have only prolonged the spell with an interim boss. Ratcliffe is claimed to have reacted badly to a suggestion from Ashworth that United should outsource the search to a data company. This would have incurred extra expense and cost, with Ratcliffe asking why his so-called expert could not deliver the right assessment himself. The Athletic claimed. A separate report from The Guardian claimed Ashworth was not convinced by Ruben Amorim's tactical approach, with Omar Barada recommending Amorim, who impressed Ratcliffe personally when he met him. After the transfer window closed, Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada held a briefing with national newspaper reporters to discuss their start at the club. Little of note was actually said, yet the interviews provoked some consternation for Ratcliffe. The Times reports that Ratcliffe was riled by some of Ashworth's comments in the interview, without specifying what exactly, while The Athletic wrote that the Ineos chief was irritated by the fact it took place in the first place, feeling there was no point in holding such a briefing just weeks into the job. It has not been repeated since. The summary of all of the above is that Dan Ashworth was not living up to the billing. Sir Jim Ratcliffe thought he was getting the smartest man in football, and it seems he was less than impressed with the reality. And how could he not be when his proposal for next Manchester United manager was Gareth Southgate or Eddie Howe? It's little wonder he was marginalized, and United are starting afresh, no matter how bad the optics are. Former Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand presented his theory on why Dan Ashworth did not last in the job at the club, despite arriving with a big reputation and proven track record. Ferdinand told his YouTube channel that the structure implemented by Ineos was simply not the one Ashworth was familiar with. He explained, "You have to remember that the jobs where he's been before, and he's been hugely successful, whether it be at Brighton, West Brom, Newcastle, or with England with the FA, he's kind of been a lone ranger, on his own, the main guy dictating and having final say on a lot of things that goes on. And that was a very different situation at United, where you got Wilcox and Barada there, who are heading up the football operations together as a three. And then overriding that, Sir David Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So it's a committee approach rather than one man making the decisions. Maybe Dan Ashworth couldn't get to grips with that and wanted autonomy over everything. He wanted his fingerprints over everything. If I'm looking in, my honest opinion is that it's a different way of working for him, and he hasn't been able to maybe adjust to it. Ferdinand's comments may hold weight. It was a different way of working, and Ashworth's recommendations for manager were not acted upon. From that point, his importance would have dwindled. United's dilemma now is to establish whether to hire a replacement for Ashworth, or simply streamline the operation. Greater responsibility could be given to Jason Wilcox, or recruitment expert Christopher Vivell could be given a more prominent role. After the failure with Ashworth, there is a little pressure on Ineos to get their next big strategic decision right. United have acted decisively this time. It's not ideal to cut ties with Ashworth, but there are little positives to take away from his reign. Meanwhile, the future of Old Trafford continues to hang in the balance. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's takeover at Manchester United kick-started conversations over Old Trafford and whether or not to build a new stadium. United's hierarchy have two options to consider: building a 100,000-seater stadium for £2 billion or renovating Old Trafford. Ratcliffe has been heavily focused on balancing finances at United, and finance expert Adam Williams predicted a new stadium would earn United £230 million per season. However, leaving Old Trafford behind would be an incredibly tough decision to make. Early reports suggested that work could begin on a new stadium next summer, but CEO Omar Barada hinted at a stadium delay with his comments on United's first quarter results. A decision is expected to be announced in 2025. Ratcliffe has not shied away from controversial decisions since becoming co-owner at United, but he has been keen to address fans over the stadium decision. United fans were 52% in favor of a new stadium when surveys were conducted by the club. 31% voted to refurbish Old Trafford, while 17% voted that they were unsure. A new stadium also appears to be the favored option by club legends. Paul Scholes is in favor of knocking Old Trafford down, while Andy Cole suggested fans deserve a world-class stadium. Gary Neville is involved in the stadium process, having been appointed to a task force that also involves the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham. According to the Daily Mail, world-leading experts in stadium design and development gathered for a summit at Old Trafford Cricket Ground last week. The cricket ground is just down the road from its larger namesake, and it is reported that much of the discussions held were around the future of the football stadium. Dan Mice, the American architect who designed Everton's new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock, was in attendance. This is a pivotal moment for Manchester United. Decisions are being made that will shape the future of our club. From Dan Ashworth's shock exit to the evolving plans for Old Trafford, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is taking bold steps to rebuild both on and off the pitch. What do you think about Amorim's appointment, Ashworth's departure, and the potential for a brand new 100,000-seater stadium? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is your chance to have your voice heard in the United community. If you found this deep dive into Manchester United's future insightful, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more exclusive content. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. We're here every step of the way as the drama unfolds. Let's build a passionate Red Devils community together.